As we've discussed previously, October this year, we'll be moving to 24/7 staffing. And along with that, I believe it's the time to get our structure correct instead of trying to catch up later on down the road. Normally, a fire company has a fire officer on it, which will be our lieutenants, which with the addition of one more shift, one current firefighter will be promoted to lieutenant from firefighter. To help the structure out and for it to operate more smoothly, we need to start the fire driver position, which is a very common position. Some departments call them equipment operators, some call them drivers, chauffeurs, different things, but we're gonna probably go with fire driver on this. So each shift will have a fire driver on it. So that'll be 3 more existing firefighters right now we will be promoting to a driver position so that we have that proper shift structure. And just because they have that fire driver title behind their name does not mean that's all they do. We'll be finalizing the job description on this, but one of the reasons also is that should the shift lieutenant happen not be there, vacation, sick leave, whatever, the fire driver will step up into that leadership position, and it'll just be known, the driver's stepping up. So, and there's no step-up pay like some fire departments currently have. This will be for them to be able to step up into that position to get the leadership experience for that shift and be able to run the crew.
So returning back to this last spreadsheet for the pay schedule, 80% of Amarillo. If you'll look, like I said, we went line by line through those promotions, also the new fire driver position that Chief just mentioned, and we looked at them individually. And so the total increase from the previous or from this current year to fund this 80% pay structure would be an increase of $65,384 from this current year to implement this year 1 and October 1. And then the following year for 26-27 fiscal year, we're looking at $74,000 increase. And then year 3, 63. And then it does decrease because hopefully we will maintain that structure, those employees, and we'll be able to retain those individuals. And so with that being in there, looking at a $35,000, $436 increase to the prior year budget. So one of the things that this is beneficial for, as I've already mentioned, is again, it gives our career fire service a pay structure that is a standard practice in most uniformed services. If you look at your bigger towns, Wichita Falls, Midland, Odessa, all the ones that we researched, they do have a step pay plan in there. And so that does become a standard of practice with your career fire service. One thing that we've put a lot of effort and resources into trying to build over the last couple of years. Any questions on the fire right now? No? Okay. So that staff recommendation at this time would be to move forward to an 80% gap with the Amarillo Fire Department. As you can see, there is an increase, but because of our current pay, it's not as wide, and so we're able to do that with not as much monetary resources as we are with the police. So if I can point your attention to the police pay, and so same reporting process here. You'll have your Canyon Police Department pay plan here for this current fiscal year. You'll see that we start our police recruits, a program that Chief Rush talked about. It was implemented a couple years ago or about a year and a half ago in order for us to get individuals who had an interest in police work but did not have their TCO certification. As I mentioned last meeting, since 2021, we've had about 3 individuals who had that TCO certification apply. So we don't have a very good enrollment or even attraction rate for those individuals with TCO licenses. So that police recruit position was developed so we can grow our own, if you will. For police officer, our minimum currently right now is 48,879 and a max of 71,863. So as you can see, with those min-max, we do have a bigger gap at 70% and 80%. And you can see down the ranks from corporal to sergeant, especially in sergeant and in corporal, that gap increases because we're at 56 and 59 respectively for corporal and sergeant. And I do want to mention, in the last couple of years that we've lost staff to the Pantex plant, most of those have been sergeants. And that does put a big burden because those are shift commanders and we lose a lot of experience and we lose a lot of leadership on our staff. And Chief, do you want to mention anything about that?
No, that hurts us overall. It causes stress on the new supervisors because they don't have the experience, but they have to step up into those roles. And then it causes a little stress on the officers because they're working for a supervisor that's not really that confident and that comfortable with things. Just kind of a stressful situation. We'll get through it in time. But it does make it hard. I mean, even no matter what you do, you realize that how important your supervisors are on the ground level, and not having experienced people for those positions is sometimes challenging. It causes more work for the lieutenants and the captain to help with all those, to keep pushing stuff down so that the patrol guys get the help and supervision that they need.
Thanks, Chief. If you look at our police lieutenant, you can see there that at the min and max, we're at 62 and 87%. And that is something that is troublesome, in my opinion, is because with the police lieutenant here and our police department, they do a lot of roles. They do fleet management. They also do scheduling. They do training and personnel upkeep of that. And so we only have two, unlike other departments, and so their scope of work is considerably large, as they have other duties such as fleet management and stuff like that they also do, in addition to being a police lieutenant. So if I could point your direction to the next sheet, which is the 80% of Amarillo's pay schedule. And if you look at this, you might recall from the previous packet that we provided, in order for us to go to a 80% step pay of Amarillo, it would take a first year total increase of $170,000. And so over the last couple of weeks since our last work session, staff got back together, had a conversation, including the city manager, the assistant city manager, and both chiefs, and come to the realization that perhaps now is not the time to ask for such a big increase. And so we went back and revisited that. And so what we're looking at now, in our next proposition is going to be a 6% increase, as was discussed during the last budget meeting or the last budget approval. And I'll go over that 6% increase here in just a minute. But as you can see, is what was presented in the last work session, the 6% annual increase, as we would plan from the last budget approval, would be $82,000. If we did a step pay of 75%, it would be $119 for the first year increase. And then the mixed, where we would go in and individually do different assignments based on rank, and we'll go over that, would be $136,348. And then the ultimate goal of 80% would be $170,000 total increase for the fiscal year of 25-26. You don't have that one?
That was from last meeting.
Oh. So
We have the recommendation out.
So we have, so looking at the 80% of Amarillo's step schedule, it's the same thing, same structure as our fire. That individual, starting off as a new recruit, would be $42,000. The only increase they would get is if they were a recruit at 10-1, so they would get that CPI salary adjustment to their pay. Police officer starting at entry level would be $53,235, and they would progress diagonally along those blue squares just as for each year of that rank. If they promote to police corporal, they go to step one and start there and progress diagonally until they hit the 5-year max. And then after that, they would only get the salary adjustment each year. So what we are proposing, if you look at the last page, it has a 6% and 6% mix. Staff is proposing a 6% mix, and what we did is we looked at each individual, and one of the things that we did adjust for is compression. So how that happens is we may have a police officer who has had a pretty considerable amount of time as a police officer and then promotes pretty fast within 5 years. So they spent 10 plus years, 9 plus years as a police officer getting those merit increases incrementally. And so that's not as big of a jump as the step pays are. And so when they promote to corporal and then sergeant, that does make them fall a little short. And so we did adjust those individuals in the 6% mix in order to catch those individuals up, make them commensurate for their grade and their time in service. If I can point you to the spreadsheet right here, and this is it's a 6% mix increase, and so yours are blacked out for staff reasons. You can see there on year 1, 25-26, that each individual, some of those police officers are getting a sizable increase, but that's based off of where they would start in the step pay plan and based on their years of service. You can see right there that that's for our police, they are getting a bigger percentage of increase in year 1, and then it goes down to 6 or 9% in year 2 for those police officers, and then it levels off year 3 and year 4. However, I would like to point out that staying with a 6% increase year over year for the next 4 more years, that's not really the best way to go, as those 6% increases will eventually put that individual way over the max on a step, and it's unsustainable within the ranks, because you could have an individual making a considerable amount, and also depending on when they start and their promotions, there would have to be continuous adjustments to those individuals' pay based on time in service and time in rank, as we have experienced here. You want to go over that, Chief, on some of those?
Yeah, that's what we've already, last budget year, Hector had to make several adjustments in the patrolman ranks to undo the compression, to fix the compression. And this is where you see that the 2 of the sergeants are getting a bigger percentage of an increase. That's compression also, because those guys came from patrol officer and immediately promoted to sergeant. That goes back to what we were talking about losing our senior officers. Somebody has to step into those roles, and so those guys didn't have the time in service to really be up where the 3% annual increase was making their salary high enough to differentiate them from the rank below them. So that's one of the fixes there. And then but we, like Hector said, we went back to the 6% that y'all gave us last budget cycle. We went back to that because we felt like we were trying to fix too big of a problem at one time by trying to move to the step program and fix the compression and the salaries. It was just too much at once. We thought if we backed off a year, stuck with the 6%, and then next year we look at trying to do the step thing again, we thought it would be a little easier for money-wise for y'all to swallow and go along with, and also for us to implement and get everything adjusted the way it should be, so we have a better look at it when we do look at it again.
So with that being said, if I could point your direction to to the police department annual pay increase cost estimates. And so if you'll look at that, so for first year, if we were to implement the 6% increase, we're looking at a total cost of $124,062. So it's a different cost than implementing the 80% at 170. So we did factor in the need to address that large amount. That does, by moving to the 6%, it does bridge the gap. So when we do consider step pay, that next year it won't have to be as big of an increase because those individuals that we have adjusted under the 6% mix are closer to the 80% of Amarillo Police Department. So next year, when we revisit this, we won't have to put so much money towards our police officers and our sergeants. So by going with the 6% mix, it does bridge that gap, and it actually works out for us to be able to address it later on. Moving down, year two, you'll see that increase does decrease to 110, and then year three, it goes to 142, and then year four, 154,000 to implement that 6% mix. But again, I'd like to reiterate, the overall objective is to move to a step plan to where we have those step pay process in place. One thing it does, it prevents pay compression, so you don't have to worry that if that person has been in a police officer position, gotten those merit increases year over year, or 15 years, that they will never promote because they're already at the minimum of a sergeant. It does stratify those ranks to where it incentivizes that employee to promote. And so that's one of the things that we want to do too in the police department, is we want to incentivize the idea to promote. We want those police officers to work to corporal and move on to sergeant and take those command positions and move up through the ranks.
Hector, would you just talk through that a little bit more? On preventing the compression, so say the corporal, year four, on the 6% mix is 82,344.
Yes.
But then if you promote it to sergeant, then it's 76,920. How do you keep him from going 82, and then if your first year is sergeant? Then
No, go to this year, Gary, it got 84.
Yeah, it goes.
It goes down. So it
it
goes
goes where?
77, it'd be this,
To 94.
84. So if
Yes, it
you're,
goes down by the year.
you're looking, here's the 80%, this is 80%.
Oh, I thought we were doing the 6% mix.
We are, I'm sorry. There's a 6
So,
mix, and then it goes right here. So from here,
Because he's already got the 4 years, so he would go.
yeah, this is implementation year. So year one's what we're going into. So right now you'd be at that. If you got promoted, you go to that.
Okay.
Year
It
two.
didn't go from here to the first year.
Yeah, and then you just compare these years.
Each year is on its own, so if he was here and he would go.
Okay, he doesn't start back over year one as sergeant.
No,
Oh, no.
Yeah, but this is the new year one. So this is the new sergeant pay in that year. So this is 25, 26, 26, 27. Yeah, 27, 28, 28, 29. And so, like, if you had a corporal in there, he's making 82. If you got promoted to sergeant, you'd go with that. It wouldn't go backwards because
Wouldn't go back from year
No.
4 year to year
No,
one.
sir, we would have already increased to here. So
that goes back to like the CPI of just trying to keep it close to the market.
Literally, those fall off the chart after
Yes.
each year, right?
Yeah, after each year, these would just fall.
Worked early on that.
So right now, staff recommendation would be to consider moving towards a 6% mix with those individual adjustments for time and rank and time and service, especially for those individuals who had an extensive amount of time in like in a police officer rank. That concludes my presentation at this time. Are there any questions from the commission?
So total, we're looking at increase then of 124 on police, and what was the?
85.
85.
So about 200,000 total.
just for police and fire.
Yes, sir.
That's, listen, we want the commission obviously to think about this. There's a lot of information here. Obviously, you can have some time to look at it, but that's what we're looking in towards the budget. Kind of what Steve said, we felt on the police side, we just, with the bond election going and everything else, we just didn't think we could get to the 80%. I will mention, if you look at the bottom of this right here, this page in your spreadsheet, you'll see a little note that I had Bo put in. He's sick. He sends his regards. He wish he could be here today. Bo helped us get there, so we subbed in the finance director in case we needed it. So I just want to remind the commission, we have a policy after the 6 months of probation, they receive a 5% increase. And so a starting officer next budget, if this goes into play, would start at $54,403 and some change. After they receive their 5% after 6 months, they would be at $57,123. That's at the bottom of that page right there. So that's just salary. As a reminder, they are still eligible for certification pay, up to $6,000 in salary.
I just want to make a point, since we're staying on the 6%, since we're proposing the 6%, those current pay rules with the 5% probationary increase still stay in place. However, fire, if they do move to a step pay, there's no probationary increase, they just move by step, so that's the difference.
As a reminder, if the commission agrees to fund these, the way it works on that is everything comes to anniversary date. Right now on the financing side of things, everything's at October 1. And so it would be their anniversary date of hire for a firefighter or their promotion date. They would receive the CPI % adjustment on October 1st.
Yes.
So if Dennis promoted to chief in January, he would get that step promotion. He's obviously excluded, but he'd get that step in his date. And then in October, that following year, he'd get the CPI adjustment. He was a bad example. But Steve, we have to worry about.
I might try for one of those fire driver positions.
It's comparable now. Please look over this. There's a lot here, a lot of information. We have probably spent 200 to 300 hours analyzing this as a team. I know Steve and Hector have been working on it for about 36 months in general. As a reminder, what we have heard on a lot of other departments on firefighter and police positions, they're trying to front load those first 5 years. What the recruiters are doing is basically people like Steve and other departments are going out and saying, hey, Gary, this is what our starting pay is. This is what you're gonna make if you stay in 5 years. That's what we're coming to understand. And so it's kind of a pay me now type of mentality. And after those 5 years, those percentages decrease to 1%. But that's how a lot of departments are going across the state and across our country. That's what Hector and Lieutenant Jones has also visited with us. Some of the research he's found. That's the mentality they've gone to in a lot of the departments.
You know, it looks like to me, you know, there's a lot of sacrifices that come with it, but from a pay standpoint, it makes it a pretty lucrative career. You know, you look at what a college graduate would start out at and all too. So that's, you know, there are some positives in the mix too, I think, so.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Just getting them in the door.
Getting them in the door. And, you know, just kind of giving some points off of, from the previous presentation, the challenge with the police and the recruitment is not only get people in the door who are interested in law enforcement work, as we've seen a decline in that over the last 10 to 15 years, but also the training requirements. And as we've experienced, losing about 60% of our recruits out of 8, because they go through that academy, and if they don't pass one of those modules, whether whatever it might be, we lose that individual too. So there's the training aspect of it all that makes it hard on us as well.
All right. Yeah.
Very similar system that we have in the education world.
Is that right?
It's a very, yeah, we do that system. Front load the first few years, smaller percentage through the rest.
All right, well, thank you all,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yeah, I guess, don't really need, any vote from the city commission, more just kind of our, that's the direction we're headed for
Yep.
budget time. Is that, what really want?
Pretty much, you know, and Mr. Ryan and Bo, most of all of our increases are all public safety. I can probably name them. I know the departments are still bringing them in. I've taken a very flat approach to those conversations. But I can almost name all things on that list right now that we're looking for increases. 3% for staff, these that have been proposed right now that we just discussed. Increasing police overtime by 15,000, increasing fire department overtime by 10,000. A part-time firefighter staff member would be to help with the EMS reporting. And there's maybe one other, I think, in there. That may be it, Joel. Is that where you were? I think that's
Pretty
it.
short list.
Pretty short list. So that's, I mean,
The attorney.
the attorney, 60,000 for assistant city attorney. Yep.
But full-time firefighters, are we
Nope.
adding?
There's no new positions.
SRO.
The budget's two
SRO.
SROs. That was it. That was the one I was thinking of. 2 SRO positions.
But that's partially reimbursed.
Just partially reimbursed. That's it. I mean, everything is public safety minus the city attorney, but, that's it, pretty much right now. That's all we can afford
Well,
in our
that makes
initial
sense, good.
analysis.
It's reality.
Thank you.
We got open session, so
Okay, then we will go ahead and move into our open regular session. And I've got 443. With that, item number 5 is the approval of the minutes of the meeting of April 1st, 2025.
I move to accept the minutes as presented.
I have a motion second to approve the minutes as written. All in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, item number 6, public comment, comments from interested citizens. Gretchen,
Nobody has signed in here.
thank you. Item number 7, presentation of proclamation declaring April 2025 Senior Hunger Awareness Month. With that, we have a proclamation here. Proclamation of the City of Canyon, Texas. Whereas the health and safety of all older adults in the City of Canyon is important to the growth, prosperity, and well-being of our community, and whereas the United States Department of Agriculture defines food insecurity as the limited or uncertain availability of, or the uncertain ability to acquire nutritionally adequate and safe foods, and whereas the overall food insecurity rate for Randall County is 13.9% according to Feeding America. And whereas food insecure seniors tend to have lower nutrition intake, lower diet quality, more chronic health conditions, poor self-reported health status, lengthened hospital stays and greater hospital readmissions, cost-related medication non-adherence, and out-of-pocket medical expenses. And whereas there are at least 3,318 residents of Randall County over the age of 65 who are experiencing food insecurity, and whereas older adults are often unable to increase their income to cover costs of living increases, and whereas older adults living in food insecure households are at greater risk of adverse mental health outcomes, and whereas it is our responsibility of citizens of the City of Canyon to learn about hunger and food insecurity among older adults, and do our part to reduce it. Now therefore, we, the mayor and commissioners of the city of Canyon, Texas, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2025 as Senior Hunger Awareness Month. We urge every resident to recognize the challenges that many older adults in our community face in regards to hunger and food insecurity, and encourage every resident to do what they can to address the issue of hunger and food insecurity among older adults in our community. Together, we can ensure that all older adults in the city of Canyon have, at all times, both physical and economic access to sufficient food that meets their dietary needs for a productive and healthy life. All right, very good. And we've got several folks from our community that are part of the solution. And so if you all would like to come up here to want to grab a picture right quick, Chris. So. How are you doing?
Mr. Mayor.
In question. I'm Amanda, I'm the property manager. How are you? See you. Amanda, come through. Hi, nice to meet you. Davina, come on over here. Hi there.
If you wanna scoot in just a little bit.
Just got off.
How do we want to do
this?
Gary in the middle, yeah. Is he in the middle? 1, 2. No, let me get on the other side. Gary in the middle. Step back just a little bit.
Everyone smile. 1, 2. Perfect.
All right, I've got you.
Very good. Thank you. Appreciate you. Thanks for what y'all do. I will be there. Thank you.
See you
Very good. Okay, sounds good. Got the logistics all taken care of there, Chris?
I think we got it.
Thank you. Okay, with that, item number 8 is first reading of resolution number 15-2025. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon approving funding to the Canyon Chamber of Commerce by Canyon Economic Development Corporation supporting the annual Independence Day celebration. Chuck?
Thank you, Mayor. Of course, 2 of our commissioners are on the board of EDC. Each year, the EDC, for the last several years, has provided financial support to the Chamber of Commerce to celebrate Independence Day in Canyon. And for that purpose, has appropriated funds to assist with that celebration. This year, the Economic Development Corporation Board, including yourself and Commissioner Cranmer, have
You could have just said
one of those days, you know, has voted 13,000 in support. So this is the first reading of a resolution to approve that support for the City of Canyon 4th of July celebration.
All right, very good, and no action is required.
No action required at this reading.
Then item number 9, consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 14-2025, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Canyon approving a project funding agreement between Pondicetta Company LLC and Canyon Economic Development Corporation relating to direct financial assistance and job incentives for new business in Canyon.
So as the commission will recall, Pontacetta Brewing Company was an economic development project, which has been successful and is operating successfully. The project wanted to expand and anticipated the hiring of additional personnel. So the proposal is either to create a new funding agreement or amend the existing funding agreement to add additional employees and a financial incentive for the hiring of those employees based upon Texas Workforce Commission reporting, which is on a quarterly basis. And so that is the proposal adopted by the board and recommended to the commission to authorize direct financial assistance in an amount not to exceed $78,000 based upon expansion of existing business.
All right, thank you, Chuck.
Once again, first reading.
First reading on
I
I
did,
thought we were doing just one reading on this one, Chuck, since we were amending.
On Pontacetta, we just have to have one reading, yeah.
we can move to adopt though.
We
now.
can move to adopt on Pontacetta because it fits into chapter 501 subdivision C, subtitle C.
Okay, well, we'll take your word on that then.
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you, Paul.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 14-2025. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Thank you.
I'll make
Joe,
a,
did you-
make a note that, their 380 agreements, lease payments, started, this month. And so, as a reminder, it's a lease purchase, agreement that the city of Canyon did. And so that payment will start April, and so will lead subsequently. All those, lease payments for 5 years, go to the purchase price, the original price that was in the contract. And so, those will begin. $750 a month.
Very good. You know, it's exciting times between that and the lumberyard. Gosh, that's good. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Item number 10, consider and take appropriate action on a petition to enter the extraterritorial jurisdiction of Canyon, annexation into the corporate limits of Canyon, and adoption of an associated annexation calendar. Chuck, looks like you and Lucas.
Mayor, thank you. Lucas, do you want to speak to this or you
Sure.
want me to take it?
Yeah, so as you can see, we did receive a petition drafted by Chuck. They came in and signed that last week. This is for Phantom Creek to come back into the ETJ. It's a first for all of us. We had a first last year taking it out, now we get a first to put it back in. So it was interesting. We got to hear last week with our land use law conference, there's some developers in more congested areas that are kind of shopping which ETJ they want to be in. I thought that was it's new times. So they're ready to come back into the ETJ and annex into the corporate limits. This would be adopting the annexation calendar. The plan would be upon annexation of the property that we would have 2 agenda items. One, to adopt an ordinance bringing them back into the ETJ, followed by annexation, and then we're also requesting that they submit a zoning change requirement that we can consider with P&Z next month for the final adoption. So
One note I did want to make is I didn't realize when I drew the annexation calendar, the publication dates for the Canyon News have changed. And Lucas pointed that out to me, so I have a resolution prepared to adopt the calendar and I emailed it to Gretchen. So we'll be using that resolution with a slightly revised calendar. Instead of the publication date being the 24th, it'll be the 23rd. Final action date and the other dates don't change.
We're adopting that resolution tonight, correct, for the
Correct,
annexation?
correct. So our recommendation would be to adopt the resolution accepting the annexation petition and requirement to move back into the ETJ and adopting the calendar.
So moved.
Second. Have a motion second. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Passes.
May I confirm Paul seconded?
Yeah, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 11, hold public hearing and consider and take appropriate action on resolution number 13-2025, resolution of the City Commission of Canyon, Texas, calling for a public hearing to be held on May 20th, 2025 for the purposes of hearing testimony regarding the setting of capital recovery fees for water, wastewater, and roadway systems in the City of Canyon, Texas.
And I think the
And
caption is,
clarify,
yeah, I think the
this
caption's
is
wrong.
for a later public hearing, there was not a public hearing today.
That's correct. This is just the adoption of a resolution, so the caption is incorrect there. It's just consider and take appropriate action on the resolution. So I can give some more background to that. The City of Canyon, we hired Friesen Nichols as a consultant to perform our capital recovery fee study. This is a study that estimates the expected growth that the City of Canyon will experience over the next 10 years, and it identifies the associated infrastructure projects necessary to accommodate that growth. By identifying the proposed growth and the infrastructure projects, you are then allowed to put that into a calculation that calculates maximum fees, and then consider any fees that the city would like to adopt to impose on new development. This is something that we took to our Capital Infrastructure Advisory Committee last month. They received all the information about maximum allowable fees, proposed fees from staff, and they have made a motion to bring forward consideration by this body. But before we do that, we have to call a resolution to hold that public hearing. So tonight is just a resolution saying that next month we will hold a public hearing. All that does is allow us to move forward by putting notice in the newspaper that we intend to hold that public hearing next month, May 20th.
So moved.
Second for the public. I will second it. So, we have a motion second, to move forward, with public hearing. All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. The motion passes 2-1.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. You know what? I apologize. Paul, let's back up and.
No, it don't matter.
No, I did, I filled in that point. I would like to,
Only if your mind made up, Robin, you're the only one I need to talk to. His mind is not gonna change, but if your mind's made up.
No, I'm fine to open it up to go to a public hearing. To me, that's where we'll get all the information and be able to express before we actually vote. So this was just to be able to take it to a public hearing to get the information, and the vote then would be about.
That's correct. This is not
This
taking
is
any
just
action
to
on
be
the
able to
program.
get the information to the public. So, yeah, I think I'm good with that.
so I apologize, Paul. It really,
It's
this is
okay.
just public hearing. We'll have more discussion and at the public hearing, have the ability for folks to get up and make points.
We'll make sure we publish it in the newspaper and that everybody knows that that's the meeting to attend, to be able to discuss the proposed program and any opinions or comments they have at that point. Thank you.
With that, Robin, still good with.
Yeah, I'm fine with going to posting so people know it's coming.
Okay, we're good. I apologize.
It's okay.
Okay, item number 12, consider and take appropriate action on March 31st, 2025 financial report by Finance Director Joel Wright. Joel?
Thank you, Mayor. I've prepared a financial report as of March 31. This will be 6 months into our fiscal year, or halfway through. And let me just kind of go through this balance sheet on the general fund.
Before I let Mr. Wright start, I just wanted to comment of what a phenomenal job that you are doing by putting these financials out on a regular basis to the commission. I know these commissioners feel the same way, but I just want to commend you and the finance department for these efforts. I know it takes a lot of time to do that and bring these here on an updated basis, and you've done a tremendous job to turn the corner there and improve our financial transparency.
I appreciate that, but it's our job, so that's why we're here. So balance sheet, financial statements, balance sheet for the general fund. We're just under 2 million of cash at this point in time, but let me remind you, this is when we've collected the majority of our tax revenue at this point. So this is the highest that the general fund will be throughout the year. From here on, we'll be spending that down. Investments are just over 1 million, and that includes CDs. We have 2 CDs in there right now. That has decreased. If you look right next to it, at September 30, we had over $1.5 million. We had to let one of the CDs that was maturing, we had to let that go to cash because our cash position had gotten so low by the end of the fiscal year. So when that matured in October, we let that go to cash. So that is included now in that 1.9 million cash line item. Nothing really significant to point out in the rest of the balance sheet. There at the end, the unassigned fund balance as of March 31 is 3.8 million. And that is an increase, which we'll see as we get into the schedule of revenues on the next page. So page number 2, looking at the schedule of revenues and expenditures, just a few highlights. Again, property taxes at this point is at 4.4 million. That's 97% collected through March 31. Sales tax, I want to spend a little bit of time on this. 1.8 million is where we're at, but just kind of let you know where we're at so far this year on actual activity of sales tax revenue. It's been kind of volatile. The first few months, we had just kind of a steady increase, being a little bit higher than where we've been the last year or so. Then we took a sharp spike in the 4th month, being January, about a 12.5% increase. But a majority of that was from one payer. The state comptroller audits tax businesses that are emitting tax, sales tax from time to time, and they get audited and have to increase that. And so we feel like that's what happened with that sharp increase. Then we had a drop of drop down to 320,000 in the next month, that being March. So we actually had a decrease from previous years, and so that was kind of discouraging. We thought we were on a steady increase, but we dropped. It's not reflected here, but April is back up, so it's kind of like the stock market. It's just kind of all over the place. I do know that there are some businesses that are down for the year, businesses on the square. So they are still struggling some. It's just an uncertain economy, and people are not spending as freely as maybe they would in a different circumstance. So sales tax, we're on track for our budget. No major concerns there. We're just keeping a close eye on it. The other big thing I want to point out to you there on the general fund revenue, schedule of revenues, is grants. We've budgeted for grants of $575,000. As of this point, we've only got about $32,000 in revenue. We've had drawdown on one particular grant, the police officer hiring grant that we're receiving. We've had one drawdown on that, but there are other grants we haven't had any drawdowns on yet, so you don't see that revenue reflected yet. Expenditures are pretty much on track with budget. We should be around 50% depending on the timing of expenses, but we're within budget on most things, just depending on where we're at in the timing of when we're incurring those expenses. Overall, there's an increase in the general fund of 1.8 million at this point in time, but again, let me remind you that's because we've collected 97% of our tax revenue. So that's just where we're at this point in time, mid-year. Moving on to page 4, going to the next one. This is the CIP General Capital Projects Fund. 624,000 of cash in here. All of that's assigned to specific CIP projects. And at this point, this has been funded by the transfers that were budgeted. So on page 5, you see down toward the bottom there, the transfers in of $243,897. Those are the budgeted transfers from the general fund. That's been funded now. And that's there for specific projects that we'll be spending on here throughout the remainder of the year. Moving on to the debt service fund, page 6. We've got just under $69,000 in cash in this fund. We've collected all the taxes, just like the general fund. We've collected about 97% of the tax revenue for the debt service fund. At this point in time, we've also paid the larger of the two debt service payments. We paid the February 15th payment, so you'll see that here on this second page. So we've paid the $275,000 principal payment, and we've paid $55,000 interest. What we've got left is the interest payment of $50,925. That'll occur in August 15th. And again, this is the 2016 series bonds that funded the cap. That's what that is about. Moving on to the water and sewer fund. Again, midpoint of the year, we're a little over $1 million in cash. We've got investments, again, we're CDs, $351,000. Similar situation in the general fund, we had to let one of the maturing CDs go to cash, so that's why that's dropped from where we were at September 30. Overall, on page 9, we have an increase at this point in time of $84,000 in net position, so that gives us an unrestricted net position of a little over $1.5 million. On the schedule of revenues and expenditures for water and sewer, page 10, we're again about midpoint of the year, so we're 50% of budget. That's where we're at on water sales at this point in time. Close on sewer, total revenues of $4.7 million. Personnel costs, supplies costs, utility costs, we're all within 50% of the year of the budget, so we're on track there. Overall, we have this $84,840 increase. I did want to point out on the transfers line item, you'll see it's $999,000. We funded all of the budgeted transfers, so that would be to the CIP utility projects, capital projects fund, and then also to golf. So we've done all of those budgeted transfers. What remains is the budgeted transfers to the general fund, and we'll be trying to make those transfers this year. We haven't been able to do that in a while until we got interfund liabilities paid down, but we've done that. So now we should be able to fund some of that budgeted transfer over the next 2 months. And then we'll need to start accumulating cash again, so we're ready for the August 15th debt service payments that'll be coming due on all of our debt that's in the utility fund. Golf, I don't have much to point out at this point in time. As of March 31, they've been through their slowest part of the year. They're picking up now, and they're in pretty good position going into the summer, so I'm hopeful that we'll have a good year financially for golf. At this point in time, with all of the transfers being funded, their net position was up $109,391. You see that there at the bottom of page 13. I want to go ahead and talk about the CIP enterprise funds, the capital projects funds for the enterprise funds. So we have a utility CIP fund, we have a golf CIP fund. Here on page 14, you see the cash in that CIP utility is at over 11 million. But that's primarily due to the receipt of 10 million that we issued the debt for. If you recall, we did the series 2025 certificates of obligation. We received that cash, a little over 10 million on March 20th. So that's in this balance. That cash will be used to fund several of the development related CIP projects that we have. The lift station number 8, is that right? Lift station H, 8.
We talk about it in a
The
minute.
infrastructure is fixing to get approved, or hopefully. All that infrastructure to service all of that new development north of town. The Phantom Creek and the finishing out Spring Canyon. So we've issued that debt. We did well in that debt issuance, if you remember. But we will be starting to need to service that debt. And we've implemented a first increase of sewer rates this fiscal year that we're in. We'll be increasing those rates methodically over the next few years in order to keep up with servicing that debt. So just wanted to point that out to you. Overall, we're still got a little bit left to spend. I did a schedule for John yesterday on what's left in the CIP golf. We've got, what did I end up at? 300,000. So a little over 300,000 or so. We still got several commitments left outstanding on some of the construction contractors, but we're winding down on that golf irrigation project.
We'll be within budget. We feel good about that.
Yes, we'll be in good shape. So
No room for car barn
We'll be
or-
within budget and feel good about that until we get to the end.
we're not sure.
And then we'll let you know.
Didn't have any significant
Gotta
change
get there.
orders. We talked about that. Didn't have any significant change
We're
orders.
almost
So
through.
that's good.
And we'll be able to answer that question. I don't want to answer it prematurely, Gary.
I think there's 3 contractors, they all have a punch list. We still have retainage that we've held back, so we have a little ways to go yet. There's still some fencing to be put up.
Yep.
So it's not totally done, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel on that.
Should be here.
Well, half full kind of guy.
The week of the 28th, 29th, they'll be here to finish the pump house aspect of it all. So by second week of May, we'll be through and paying up the last of the bills.
And this is kind of taking off on a tangent, but I know, sounds like really happy with the work that folks put in the irrigation system did.
Everything's
The
worked out
tanks and
well.
all too, all that in great shape too.
Worked out well, yes, sir.
It was a good project. John seems happy. John Hahn seems happy.
John Hahn has carried that and really pushed us along. It's good. October.
One more thing to point out, page 15. We say we got grants budgeted there for 1.3 million. And we haven't seen any revenue from those yet. Hopefully we will soon. Most of that is the CDBG grant for the downtown alley. And a lot of that work is done so far. 800,000 or 500,000 on that. 800,000 is for TxDOT. That's their funding for the I-27 water line that's gonna go under I-27 whenever they get to that. So we may be in a situation where we have to re-budget for some of these, depending on where we're at the end of the fiscal year and what we've actually gotten the funding yet. Okay, so pretty quick coverage of all that. Do you have any questions on the financial statements of where we're at March 31?
So part of the grant you have to go on, water sewer would be for the generator seal. Still got to come.
No, we don't have that grant funding coming yet.
Chris, you submitted that.
Yeah, we've submitted something, a change in scope, like 2 weeks ago, I think.
Okay.
That had to go to FEMA to see if they'll approve that change in
It's
scope.
longer than that, I thought.
It may have been.
So that'll be next fiscal year then, is that?
Probably.
Even if we ordered them today, Gary, Adolfo, how many months did you tell us?
Minimum 6, probably a year.
That's all I have in the way of financial report. Have any more questions?
Approve the financial report as presented.
Motion second.
Further questions for Joel?
All in
favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes. Okay, item number 13, consider and take appropriate action on March 31st, 2025 investment report by Finance Director Joel Wright.
So this report is where we're looking at more specifically just our cash position, where we're at in the way of cash. And this would include our checking accounts, but also our CDs as well. Those are, they are investments, but we consider them as part of our cash. So overall, I've given you all of the balances as of March 31. Total cash for all funds, everything we've got in the bank is $16,514 at March 31. And then I've taken out what's restricted in that. So if we've already put it over in a CIP fund, it's already obligated. It's not available for spending. We do have some outstanding escrow agreements, so I've subtracted those out. So we come down to 4.1 million is what's available. And you see there in the very bottom, kind of it looks yellow on the screen here, yellow and blue. So the 3.1 million is what's available in the general fund, and then the utility fund is just under $1 million. And when we compare that to what our minimum target is, and again, just to remind you, minimum is 25% of the operating budgeted expenses in the general fund and 15% of the operating expenses in the utility fund. And so we're still below. We're $633,000 below that minimum. In the general fund, we're $255,000 below it. In the utility fund, and overall, we're $889,000 below it. That's improved quite a bit from where we were at. At the end of the fiscal year. But again, we've got all of our tax revenue here right now and fixing to spend it. So that's gonna go the other direction more than likely. But hopefully it doesn't get worse. And we just wanna kind of keep it here and maintain until some other things
Do you have any idea what we would look like year over year or anything, Joel?
at this point. Last year, we were in the black this point of the year.
We were actually in the black.
Yeah, but most of the things we did happened after March 31. Most of the things we did to take that cash down, buying a building and doing those other things that weren't budgeted. So, we're holding our own, so we're okay at this point. That's the first part of the investment report. Second part is just showing you that the bank has adequately pledged securities to collateralize the city's deposits. On the bank balances, we had $18,609,000. That's what's on the bank statement as of March 31. They had pledged securities with a market value of $19.9 million. And then in addition to that, we also have FDIC insurance. So we're well collateralized as of March 31, 2025. Do you have any questions on either of those reports? If not, that's all I have.
To approve the investment report as presented.
Have a motion and second to approve the investment report as presented. Any further questions? All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign.
Thank you.
Motion passes. Thank you, Joel. Do appreciate it. Okay, item number 14, consider and take appropriate action on bids received for the construction of lift station number 8. Chris?
I'm filling in for Bo today.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. So on February 6th, we put out a notice, request for bids for the lift station project. As you guys might recall, this is the one that's going in Spring Canyon that will serve Spring Canyon and Phantom Creek. February 20th, we held a mandatory pre-bid conference as a result of some issues or
discussions that were had during that, we extended the bid date and ultimately opened bids on March 13th. We received 3 bids for that. We all scored those. You can see the scores on there. Low bid was Scott Wampler Construction. And his bid was at $3,896,090 with 280 calendar days to complete. We did request additional information from all 3 bidders in order to evaluate these as best as we could and try to determine who would be best to award this to. Based off of the scores and the information we received, we are recommending that the project be awarded to Scott Wampler Construction. I'm happy to answer any questions.
It was a lot shorter days to complete, all right, too, wasn't it? So,
It was, yes, sir. It's dependent on a lot of factors there. Weather and other things, so hopefully you can make that
To
happen.
award the bid for the construction of lift station number 8 to Scott Wampler Construction.
have a motion and a second to award the bid to Scott Wampler Construction. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, like sign. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. All right, item number 15, update on public safety bond committee progress. Megan.
Well, it's my last time up here, at least until after we know everything. So, 5,300 mailers went out yesterday, so those should be hitting homes either today or tomorrow. That information was specific to where all of the election locations were, and so that was early voting as well as May 3rd specifically. Gretchen had some legal language for me to add to that, and so we added all of that information for both English and Spanish, and so all of that information will go out. And it's already on our website, of course, but that is direct to homes, and that mailer will also be a shorter version that is in our May water bills. Those normally come out by the 1st at the latest. Normally they come out a day or two before, and so that's why we felt comfortable having it still going out with the May water bills. That is just election day though, because early voting will have been done by then. We're going to Lions Club tomorrow, so excited about that. We've been asked quite a bit about that. That's one of our larger groups that we can go to. The mayor will be doing that presentation. I just sent it to him this afternoon. It'll be pretty much everything that we've been talking about already, but having it in front of them will be our largest crowd. And then of course we'll be going back to Rotary next week. That will mostly be Joe. And speaking of next week, early voting starts on Tuesday. Early voting will be the 22nd through 29th. And then actual election day is May 3rd. While Gretchen will be at the polling location, I will be enjoying the May Market and Art Walk down on the square and being glad that everything is kind of wrapping up. We'll be doing our Ask Us Anything live on Facebook tomorrow after Lions Club, so that will be Joe and the Chiefs. We haven't really gotten any questions about it yet, but I feel like even at least just having a conversation, explaining things more than what we can just put on paper or put on a post. Some people may not have watched the videos all the way through, but even just having conversations and going back and forth about a couple of things. We'll see how tomorrow goes if we want to add another.
One maybe with the mayor and I in the evening to try to hit people that might be at home in the evening.
So we'll see how that goes, and then we'll have our last Q&A session on this Thursday. It'll be at Mickey's place. Mickey had offered that space to us to just host and be there. We'll be in that small room on the right side. And we'll see if anyone has any last minute questions and if anyone wants to at least just talk to us about it. Appraisals are going out this week, so we'll see how all of that goes. And I will have my final report to you on May 6th. That will include all of my final numbers of exactly how many postcards went out, how many people we reached on social, all of the actual physical versions of everything. I've been giving y'all kind of 2-week updates throughout all of this, but on the 6th, we'll actually have all of the final information. Website's been, website is back up. Thankfully, it was down for a little bit this morning, but that is back live. And so the bond page itself was pushed down a little bit as far as our top pages goes, but that's not shocking considering it is getting into cap season, and the cap is always one of our more popular web visits. Questions?
I would like to just add that we probably will not be able to canvass at our regular meeting on the 6th of May because it'll be too soon for finalizations from Randall County. Only required 2 commissioners. It's a quorum for the canvass, so I'll reach out once we get a date set and I can get that posted 72 hours before to see if 2 of you can attend so that we can canvass. All my legal notices have been posted at Randall County Justice Center, the new police department, and the library. So we've met all our requirements there. It's in the paper, it's on the website. So we're in good shape.
And we'll also be this week, next week, and the week after on the Saturday paper. We'll Gretchen will have all the legal side, and then I have an ad going out in it with just more information like everything y'all have seen.
And that's in where now?
The Canyon News.
And again, I want to thank Megan and Wendy. They've done a beautiful job on everything going out and been very cognizant of me saying no. We've worked great together and they've really done a nice job on everything.
Of course, no, thank you. No, it's been really nice to just be able to go back and forth about everything. Wendy's been very proactive, so.
Big project, I'm sure. Appreciate all your work, man.
Of course, well, thank you. Y'all keep an eye out and we'll see early voting starting next week.
Very good. Encourage folks to take the right to go vote. All right, thank you very much. With that, takes us to item number 16, executive session pursuant to 551.071, consultation with attorney, 551.072, deliberation about real property, 551.074, for personnel matters, Canyon Area Library Board appointments, and 551.087, deliberation regarding economic development negotiations. And with that, I have 5:29, and we will retire into exec session.
Steve, I think, I like the. Yeah. Congratulations on the lift station deal.
Said those kids were.
I agree with Finnegan. Yeah, I agree with Finnegan. I would think
Yeah, well, yeah.
yeah, I've got to go down there tomorrow. Usually, I've well,
Reach out.
you know,
Submitted.
Yes, thank you. Oh my gosh.